start with the fact that we should not be afraid when we study prophecy. Some people get depressed. There are some negative things here, but I want to share with you just a few verses from the Bible why we should not be afraid. First of all, you know, the Bible is full of the expression, be not afraid. And there are some actual verses that explain that even more. For instance, 2 Timothy 1:7, for God did not give us the spirit of fear, but of love and of power and of a sound mind. And prophecy itself is actually encouraging overall. All the prophecies about the coming of Messiah, and then the prophecies about the Messianic kingdom in the future, which is by far the most of the prophecies, are all very encouraging. But the stuff that's happening right now that we see being fulfilled is pretty scary, and there's no getting around that. But, you know, even in the book of Revelation, which brings this stuff out in detail, it doesn't give a warning that the reader might become depressed. Instead, it says in verse 3, blessed is the one who reads the words of this prophecy, and blessed are those who hear it and take to heart what is written in it, for the time is near. So the Lord doesn't expect us to be depressed or fearful, and we need to remember that God is in control. Just as is true of all of the rest of our life, whatever happens with the future, to whatever extent we're involved with the future, God is in control. Romans 8:28 says, we know that all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. And, you know, even in the book of Revelation again, chapters 4 and 5 are given before the terrible stuff starts in chapter 6. And in 4 and 5, you find the 24 elders and the angelic hosts all gathered around the throne of God, and they're praising Him and declaring His goodness. And that's just to remind people that even though there's going to be terrible things here on the earth, it's a good God behind it and a good purpose. And you know, when the Bible speaks about those things that will happen in the tribulation, it calls them the birth pangs. The birth pangs. And birth pangs are the labor that a woman goes through before she gives birth to the most wonderful thing that ever happens to her, you know? And that's the way the tribulation is. It's birth pangs before the great millennial kingdom where Jesus Christ will reign as Lord of Lords and King of Kings. The Bible also tells us that the Lord will take care of us in everything. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, no trial has seized you except what is common to man. And God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tried beyond what you can bear, but when you are tried, He will also provide the way out so that you can stand up under it. I believe this is a wonderful time to be alive. I'm not going to read it, but 2 Corinthians 5:20 says that we are ambassadors for Jesus Christ. In Luke 19, verses 12 and 13, Jesus gave a parable in which He told believers that they should occupy until He comes. And finally, I think this is my favorite verse to use at the end of my teaching on prophecy, and so I'll give it at the beginning instead of at the end tonight. In 2 Peter chapter 3, verses 11 and 12, since everything will be destroyed in this way, what kind of people ought you to be? You ought to live holy and godly lives as you look forward to the day of God and speed its coming. Let us not be afraid.